Channel 5 update. Escape from Dannemora. The search for Richard Matt and David Sweat.
Breaking news continuing into the late afternoon now. About 500 officers are going step by step through an area where the convicts might be hiding out. Route 374 remains closed between General Leroy Manor Road and Rand Hill Road in the town of Plattsburgh. People familiar with that area just to the west and south of Route 374 where this search has been focused say that parts of the underbrush there and the thickets are very dense. They say that this would likely be more helpful for the people trying to hide than it would be for the people trying to find them. Still, officers say that K-9 units did pick up a scent much earlier today, the overnight hours during the search for the two prison escapees. Right now, residents are hunkered down in their homes waiting for some good news they likely hoped would have come by now, certainly. We are on the phone with Thomas LaSalle. He lives in Saranac on Bucks Corners Road. Thomas, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure, David.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Sure appreciate it. First of all, give us an idea of where you are in relation to the search here and what you've seen.
Well, relative to the search, I believe we're right on like an outer perimeter. There are officers about every 100 feet stationed all the way up the 3-mile stretch of my road.
And what are these officers armed? Are they bearing guns? And what are they doing? How would you describe them?
Well, yeah, they're all very well armed. They are they're just watching the forest, like watching for any movement. Really, that's pretty basically what's going on right now.
Sure.
Choppers are still flying over pretty steadily. Believe they just had a shift change. I believe some of the guards got swapped out. Some of those guys have been here since 9 o'clock last night.
Certainly working long hours out there. Now, let me ask you, if I understand correctly, did you speak with some of the police officers, ventured outside a few times? Tell us what you wanted to see, how police responded there.
Yeah, I went out this morning about 6 a.m. and talked to the officer that stood guard at my house all night. And he had told me that they have the dogs out and that they're pushing them, and that basically told me to go back inside, lock up, don't come outside until this is all done and over with.
How urgent was he? Was it sort of a suggestion, or how forceful was he, I guess?
No, I mean, it was very urgent. He's been, they've all been very serious. They want people to stay inside and lock your doors.
Now, certainly when this started to develop earlier on, there was lots of hopes this might lead to something. Now, from the early morning hours, have you seen anything at all that at any point made you think that they might be getting closer to the inmates?
There has been times where they have had officers drive up and down, telling all of the officers to be ready. I'm not sure if maybe the helicopter spotted stuff at certain times. But there has been, throughout the day, it's kind of been tense to, not so tense, where they're like a little more relaxed and they're talking to each other, to other points where they are just like stone cold and just waiting for something.
Now, beside the sounds of the helicopters going overhead and some of the vehicles that they've been driving, have you heard anything, either yelling or loud noises, anything like that?
No, I haven't heard anything. I know people were talking about the shots fired. We didn't hear anything from our end of the road here. We did see an ambulance go through about an hour and a half ago from Dannemora, and then it left probably about 30 minutes later back towards Dannemora.
Now, you've been out there as you've watched from early to late. Has the scene changed any as the day has progressed leading up to early evening now?
Yeah, I mean, throughout the day, it has its highs and lows where there's a scurry of activity. We saw armored vehicles earlier today go down. We've heard sirens from different points. So, I mean, there's definitely things happening, and they're developing, because they are using this road as I think a main form of transportation to get quickly between the search area.
We've spoken with some folks today that are getting a little bit weary after being in the middle of such an intense situation for a while. I know some family members of other people have decided to leave and go elsewhere. How are you holding up? Any thoughts of leaving, or are you hanging in there?
I'm definitely hanging in here. My wife and my 2 daughters left last night when things started to happen, and I've just decided to hunker in place. I have my cousin with me, and we're just keeping an eye on everything.
Now, earlier in this investigation, perhaps a few days ago, there was a fellow that said when he went outside, certainly with the threat of convicts roaming loose who've already taken lives, he armed himself. If he went outside, he had a gun with him. Have you been outside at all with a gun? Have police said anything about that?
Yeah, actually, I mean, I've been well armed since day one, since everything happened. It's way too close not to be. And for the first few days, we were like a lot on edge. And I noticed like nobody had searched like the northern part towards the prison, from this area. And I got a little nervous. And yesterday, 3 of us went out, and we went searching because we didn't see a police presence. And we talked to Border Patrol that morning. We let him know that we were going out. He didn't have a problem with anything. They were all very helpful. On my property, I've talked to him, and the only thing they had mentioned was last night they told us, get inside. There's a lot of men with itchy trigger fingers, and they just didn't want anybody out with guns, without guns or anything, just because, a lot of these guys are like really on edge and ready to go.
Certainly, given the background of the guys they're looking for, I guess that's certainly understandable. If you've been in touch with the neighbors at all, what have you guys been saying to each other?
I haven't really seen my neighbors, to be honest with you. A lot of them, I think, took off last night too, and they just, I don't think they're really letting people back. We've seen a few civilian cars head through. They've usually had like police escorts, and they were. The guard I talked to this morning was very adamant about, if you leave, you're not going to be able to come back until this is done.
All right, Thomas LaSalle, in the very heart of the search in your house there. Hold up. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. Right now, our very own George Mallet, who's been out there yesterday, got a few winks, I hope, is back on the scene now. George, I believe if you're in Dannemora, what can you tell us? What's different from where you left off? What can you see now?
Well, the sun is up, so that makes a huge difference, David. But this is still sort of a command center, if you will. Just a few blocks from here is where they're staging from. And the real effort is being made. You talked about the long hours that everybody's been working. A real effort is being made now to sort of put crews in and out in waves to give everybody a little bit of relief. For instance, last night in a driving rainstorm, I talked to an officer who had been on the same roadblock for 16 straight hours, a true test of endurance. Even though they're doing this in waves now, they've been able to maintain a perimeter specifically around an area in Katyville. We've got crews on both sides of that perimeter, and we'll be checking in with them at 5 o'clock. Stuart Ledbetter and Jennifer Crompton on opposite sides of that perimeter with a helicopter up above, so they'll be able to update us at that point on just what may or may not have been seen. Right now, though, I want to bring in WPTZ's Hannah McDonald. She's been talking to some of the shall we say, nervous residents in the area.
They are, and you say Katyville, a lot of towns kind of switch in and out of there. There's Morrisonville, Beekmantown, and I spoke to a woman in Morrisonville who we'll hear from more later. Her house backs up to quite possibly where they're searching. She doesn't see anything, but she talks about that terrain in there, and it's tough. Survival of the fittest is what she said. Bears, mud, you don't know what you're going to encounter in there. She's referencing not only the men and women that are uniformed in there, but also these 2 inmates, if they're out there, how difficult it really would be for them to spend the last 6 days there and go unnoticed. So we're not sure what they're finding in there, but coming up at 5, 5:30, and 6, we'll hear from this woman and her family and how they're taking some precautions to stay out of the way and also stay safe.
I think it was over the weekend that I talked about the fact that no matter, one thing we do know for certain is there's a lot of black flies in that swampy area, and it's got to be a little rough after a while. That's Hannah McDonald. She'll be here at 5 o'clock. I will be as well. WPTZ's George Mallet reporting live in Dannemora. David, back to you.
All right, George, we have a whole set of team coverage getting ready to ramp up for you as we get into the evening hours now, continuing to follow breaking news in the search for the escaped convicts. Be sure to tune in here in less than an hour now, about 50 minutes, starting with First at 5, and we're going to bring you complete coverage all around that area. For now, we return you back to your normal programming.